Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Design Archive with Edward and Ludwig.
Hello.
Hello. Today we're gonna talk about smart fridges, right Ludwig?
Yes, we are. Now, if you watched the channel before, that might be a bit surprising considering we usually talk about game design and we're called the Game Design Archive in that. But actually, we think smart fridges are very, very relevant to gaming. And especially modern game design and modern game culture, I guess you could say. So let's start by talking about smart fridges for a bit. Modern fridge manufacturers seem to be obsessed with putting a bunch of features in their fridges, right? It's like all fridges nowadays, they have a big screen which is running like an Android operating system, and you can like watch YouTube on it, and you can talk on Discord with your friends on it, and so on and so on.
Didn't you read the most insane quote ever?
Yeah, we were actually looking up smart fridges. Before this video, because we were discussing them. Yeah, and there was like this marketing tagline that said "the new center of your home." Like it was in Swedish, but it's basically translated that way. Yeah. And we were like, okay, so like, yeah, you're supposed to like gather around your smart fridge for Christmas now. It's like no. Like, it's a fridge. It's not that deep. That's kind of the point we're trying to make. It's like a fridge should be a fridge.
You see, the important thing is you can have a really high price if you have all of these things.
That's true. That's true.
Which is actually also relevant to games, by the way.
Yes. But yeah, so what would we like in a fridge, right? If we're going to continue speaking about fridges instead of game design. Well, we want a fridge that does fridge stuff well. It should be really, really simple. It should be, like, if you want to go hardcore, it should be able to handle a lot of beatings and stuff, because you're angry and you smash your fridge or something. And it should be energy efficient, and it should be like, it should have like a lot of very like nicely organized compartments and stuff, and a lot of room. That's what you want for a fridge, right?
And also not the like planned obsolescence, right?
Yes.
It should actually work for more than the warranty time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But instead, fridge manufacturer, instead of just improving the fridge, taking the simple, humble fridge whose purpose is to cool your greens and stuff like that, they are adding a bunch of gimmicks and a bunch of weird stuff in order to market the fridge. It's like, oh yeah, this fridge can do so many things, because that's what matters. No, what actually matters is that the fridge cools your stuff down.
Yeah, I think there is like I mean, obviously, I agree, but there is a interesting like analogy there that I didn't think of, which is that they could not ask for as much money if they did the good fridge, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same for games, right? And I hadn't really thought about it in that way for games, right? You end up in the same situation where they're creating, for example, these huge worlds, right? That serve no purpose. Like no human is gonna explore these worlds. They're ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But they can charge more money for it, right?
Yeah.
So that's also an interesting like tangent or whatever you want to call it. I guess.
Yeah, because I guess this is the point. I guess you already hinted to it a bit, where we reveal that this video isn't actually about smart fridges.
What?
It's about video games. Yeah, sorry, you were tricked, guys. So I guess what sort of, at least for me, sort of inspired today's topic is I want to shout out the Electric Underground, as we often do.
Yeah.
Yes, because he made a video on Pragmata. Now, I actually hadn't looked that much at Pragmata before. I just assumed that it was like a generic action game, and who cares? So I didn't really look into it or anything. But then I saw his video on it, and it's like, it's the most gimmicky garbage game ever, right? It's like, it has this like hacking minigame, which is like super uninteresting and super shallow and super boring. But then like, the problem is that there's also third-person combat, right? So you have this so like probably during the development they realized that like, oh shit, it's kind of hard and annoying to do this like weird minigame stuff while you're doing third person combat. And so you can clearly see in the enemy design that it's like designed in a way where the enemies are super passive and super calm and stuff like that, for you to be able to do the hacking minigame like at your own pace or whatever.
Yeah. But it's all like the minigame is also underdeveloped, right? It's
like, yes.
There's nothing there. It's just like there's no mechanics in it.
Yeah. So one of his points in the video, and one point that I definitely agree with a lot of modern video games, is that you know, they just put the hacking minigame in there for like as a marketing gimmick, or like maybe not marketing gimmick, like that wasn't the like initial idea. Maybe they were like, oh, this could actually work, but then they didn't make it work or whatever. But basically it was a gimmick, right? It's like, oh yeah, what if you take a third person shooter and then you smash this puzzle thing, which isn't even really a puzzle because it's stupidly simple, into the game.
Yeah. I think one thing that you and I haven't discussed before that I also think is relevant to that is that I unfortunately think that part of the reason is also the investors.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because if you tell them, like, they are very, you know, I don't want to be mean to the investors, but you get what I'm saying. They're not really,
they don't know anything about video games.
So what they want is this like, what if you could do this and this and that, and you can do all these things, and right, and this like very surface level, very I still don't have a good word for it, but it's this like you can basically, it's like a concrete idea, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. It's like concrete ideas. It's not like fussy at all, which sounds weird, but it's like I feel like they like things that you can just say, right? Marketing terms and like concrete things, and like that's not how you make something good, I guess, is my opinion. I that's think, how you sell something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is why the like smart fridge example is so good, because it's like, okay, if we look at Pragmata, they didn't go into that game thinking we're gonna make the best, deepest third-person shooter ever or whatever. They went into it and they said, okay, let's take the third-person shooter and then like slap something else onto it, which is literally what smart fridge manufacturers are doing. They're taking the fridge and they're slapping a phone on it. Yeah. And it's like, I want the fridge to do fridge stuff. I don't want the fridge to do phone stuff. Yeah. And what, like, actually, I think, thinking about it, the smart fridge example is actually less bad than the game example, because the smart fridge can still do fridge stuff, probably pretty well, or at least average, right?
I mean, if we're talking compared to what you pay for it, I would argue.
But like a smart fridge is still a fridge, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at something like Pragmata, it's like it's basically not even a third-person shooter anymore, right? Yeah. It's like it's so shallow, it's so uninteresting.
Yeah. But there are examples where, like we've talked about in the past, where like one of my favorite examples is the new, I say new, it's not new anymore, Lords of the Fallen, right? Yeah. That game is actually it's a decent Souls clone, right? Mm-hmm. But it has this super annoying gimmick thing where you like swap between worlds and stuff, and it's like it serves no purpose. It's just in the way of the gameplay, right? But so like that's like sometimes they actually manage to like do the gameplay thing anyways, right? And I feel like even a lot of good games do this, where like you can see that they started out as having all these weird ideas, but they've like toned them down. Mm-hmm. And like I mean, games that are made by like good designers, right? They've like realized that the ideas are not working and like toned them down and just made a good game in the end. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think also in a lot of cases they've like let the ideas develop. I think The Witness is a very good example of this actually, because Jonathan Blow he was like talking about the backstory of The Witness, like how he came up with the idea, and wasn't it based on like the magic system from Arx Fatalis or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, where you like draw spells on the screen and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, you could make something cool with this. This is like a cool idea.
Yeah.
And then he like he took that and was like, okay, how could I make an interesting game with this? And then he like worked his way into The Witness, which doesn't actually have that much to do with the magic system in Ars Fatalis, right? So it's like...
Well, it does, if you look at it from a if you don't look at it from this, like, product thing, not product... Man, I need a good word for this. Like, the only word I can come up with is concrete. Like this, like you can say what it is idea. In that sense, it's not at all like Arx Fatalis, right? But in the way as the thing he saw that was interesting in Arx Fatalis and the thing he extracted and actually extrapolated and made a game out of, that part is still preserved, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But he like realized along the way that like, okay, for this thing to succeed, I need to change what it is, right?
But maybe he didn't. Maybe he just made it good because he's good at design.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
I don't think he thought about it that actively, right?
No. But it probably happened over the like development of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of designers, a lot of good designers do it that way. Like they often come with like. Is it called high concept idea, where it's like, oh yeah, I want to make a game where you can do this or whatever, and then it like slowly develops into something that's actually interesting.
Yes. Yeah, and like this is so. I guess we will can get to that later. Let's talk about like the like more concrete things first, I guess. So like unique selling points, right? I guess it's a good place to go now, right?
Yeah.
So I talk about this sometimes, at least we've talked about it, which is that when I went to school, right, I had some like game design courses, other than programming courses, and I think this is partly why modern game design. We should still come up with a better term, by the way, because it sounds dumb to say modern, but like. In fashion,
contemporary
whatever.
Game design.
Yeah, the games that people are making now, I think it's partly because most people that are working with game designs are educated by this system.
Yeah.
Because this system is absolute garbage. Because they're taught to think in this way where, for example, right, you need a unique selling point, right, that you can present to the investors, right?
Yeah.
And so you build your game around having a unique idea. And I mean, maybe to some extent there is a truth in that. But I don't think... what am I trying to say? Help me here.
What are you trying to say?
You want to explore an interesting space, but you don't want to be unique, right? That sounds counterintuitive, but like those are two very different things, right? It's about like, I think again, bringing up, man, we're talking about Jonathan Blow a lot today, but that's fine. He's a good designer, right? He talks about this a lot, where like. And he's very focused on this, right? Where he wants you to explore spaces, right? So like in The Witness, he wanted to explore that space of like, oh, what if you had just like this simple draw lines? What can you do with this space, right? And that's sort of the like that. Although that's very, very, very obvious in something like a puzzle game, it's the same if you make like an action game. Like you don't want to think in a way where you're doing things to be unique. You want to find a space that you find interesting in some way and explore that space in a way so that you can present it to other people so that they also can see that space is interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
I think actually this makes me think of beat 'em ups a lot, actually. I think that's a good example because At least for me, like when I was younger, I had like dismissed beat 'em ups as uninteresting because I had like tried one once and I didn't find it very interesting or whatever. But then I like recently, because of like people like the Electric Underground and people like that who like vouch for these games and said you should play them, they are good. I tried, you know, Final Fight for example, and I realized that like, oh shit, like beat 'em ups are like, they are action games which are very focused on crowd control, right? At least Final Fight is. There's probably a lot of variation between beat 'em ups, but in general, beat 'em ups are very crowd control oriented, right? Compared to other action games. And it's like, that sort of distinction is very, very subtle. But if you are actually like deep into video games and deep into these kinds of games, you can notice that, right? And that's like actually deep. Whereas I think what a lot of people end up doing is they think like I used to do. They played a beat 'em up for 10 minutes and was like, oh, this is boring, I'm not gonna bother with this. And then they gravitate towards games which are like, oh yeah, this is a beat 'em up, but it has a puzzle game where you press the buttons to control a grid thing, like Pragmata or whatever. Because that's like recognizably, I don't want to say interesting because it's not interesting, right? But it's like,
no, but I think sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
like, I think it is. I think there is two like things going on here, because I think to the part of your brain that is looking for these like interesting things that gets a kick out of it.
Yeah.
This novelty, like we talked about novelty driven design before, right? This novel idea, right? This like, oh, I get it. It's like you do this puzzle and this thing at the same time and you get a kick out of that, right?
Yeah.
You do like actually get a kick out of it. But the problem is that doesn't necessarily mean that the game is good, right? It's just that your brain, like, it got this kick from the idea, but not from the experience. The experience is actually pretty bad because the game is underdeveloped, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that stems from the fact that like we often talk about, that a lot of designers and people who play games don't actually engage with games seriously enough. So they play through Pragmata and they don't like think about it at all, and they just surf through it, and then they're like, oh, that was a decent game. But what they should do is like, they should engage with the systems, and then they'll pretty quickly realize that, okay, it's just a shallow game, right?
I mean, like we talked about before, you can, if you're playing it for the story or whatever, or you're playing like one game a month, I mean, sure, but like that's like, besides the point, right? Because like even people that I feel like should be more engaged more, like critics and stuff, right? Or not, right? That's the problem more than that.
I think especially critics.
Because like obviously there are people that like different, like play different amounts and like take games, like. We brought this up. I'm sure you have hobbies that you're like not serious in, but you're not going online talking about how you're the master of that hobby, right? And and how everyone that talks about it differently from you are wrong because product mindset stuff, right? I will get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually we could bring that up right now, because one comparison that we like to make and that we stole from Jonathan Blow is that, are we saying contemporary video games now, or are we still saying modern?
We're saying modern for now.
Modern, okay. Modern games are like fast food.
Yeah.
That's sort of it's like a comparison that I like a lot, because it's very clear that, like fast food, it's like, it's designed to be addictive, it's designed to be, consumed endlessly without thought, and it's not supposed to be deep or interesting or anything. It's just like, it's there for you to buy and consume and like get a dopamine kick out of it, right?
Yeah, and that the like going back to the education, right? I think, and also Jonathan Blow mentions it because this is from a talk, if I remember correctly, right, where he talks about this. Like, we're actually really good at making young food games, right? We have found, like, we're like insanely good. Like, we found all the tiny little things we can do to like manipulate people to get addicted to playing our game, right? But we're not the other part, like, that you're gonna bring up. We haven't go ahead.
So like, but the thing is, you know, we have fast food, right? In society, we have fast food.
Yeah.
But we also have fancy food, or whatever you want to call it, or
high nutrient
or
food,
artsy food, or high nutrient food.
Like, just healthy food in general.
Healthy
as well,
food,
right?
yeah. So yeah, there's actually two distinctions here I could make. So
more,
the first
right?
one is,
there's
as you said,
them, right?
Yeah, but like two main ones. So like you said, you could go in one direction and say there's healthy food. So it's like there's food that's good for you that you should eat because it's nutritious and it has a bunch of vitamins and minerals and stuff, and you need those to survive and feel well and stuff like that. And that's one point. And there aren't really many games that like explore that space. Like, I think something like The Witness is probably as close as we have as like a game that's good for you, that like makes you think about stuff and so on.
I'm sure there are games that like explore like I'm not saying like math games, but you get what I'm saying, like explore like I think something like that 4D game, for example, that's probably even closer, right?
What's it called?
Megakure or something, I think.
Megakure, yeah. We'll leave a link in the description.
Yeah. That is a perfect example of that, right? Because it's
Mark Ten Bosch, right? He's called.
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember his name, but yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a super concrete example of this, where it's like it's actually teaching you about ways you can think about 4 dimensions, right? Which is really interesting, right? So that's like
but then the other way I wanted to take it is to like fancy food, right? So you know, in the cooking world, we have a bunch of like famous chefs like Gordon Ramsay and whatever. Now I don't know about a lot about food, so like maybe I get some stuff wrong if you're like a super fancy chef who knows all this stuff. But like the comparison still stands. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, when we see Gordon Ramsay walk into a restaurant in Kitchen Nightmares and he says this food sucks and is inedible and I'm gonna throw up now, it's like, even though a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with him, they would probably eat that food still. Like, most people aren't as what's it called, like sensitive to bad food as he is, right? Because he's like a super good chef or whatever. People accept that, like, okay, it's Gordon Ramsay, he's like a fancy chef, he knows what he's talking about, so he's probably right. And like, I feel like this sort of distinction doesn't exist in video games at all. It's like, because basically,
it clearly exists because we're bringing it up, but
but like when we do it, like when people talk about stuff like this, like when people say, okay, video games are like fast food, it seems like people push back at it like, well, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Or something like that. Like, people don't recognize that there is a distinction between fast food and healthy food and fancy food.
That is true.
Like, in food they recognize that distinction, but in video games everything is looked at as fast food, and thus, you know, games that are healthy or games that are fancy or interesting or whatever, they are looked at through the lens of fast food, and in that, through that lens, those games suck, right? Because the point of fast food is to be addicting and whatever, and cheap and so on. But that's not the point of those games.
They can be nice sometimes, right? Which is a point up, right? It's nice to eat fast food sometimes. And it can even be good for you sometimes, right? If you're really hungry and haven't eaten for a long time or something, right?
No, I 100% agree. It's like,
I just realized one thing that like sort of breaks or analogy, which makes me sad, and it's that a lot of modern restaurants are doing like super dumb stuff where they combine stuff in dumb ways because to make like unique things just to be unique, and they taste like garbage.
Yeah, but I think I think even in like, what do you want to call it, like fancy game design, there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of like, oh, look at this gimmick I came up with.
Yeah, that's my point. That it's the same as games.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That it's bad is my point. That even in the food world, people are doing this thing, and some people are recognizing that as fancy food, right?
Yeah.
Critics wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like because it's like it's like, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? It's like, oh, this is so special. You combine like something not something that tastes good with something that tastes good, but they don't taste good together. But because you did that, you're like a super smart chef. So now you're like, this restaurant is popular, or like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I feel like at the same time, for every restaurant that you have that you do that does that, you have like 5 generic Italian restaurants that are really good. Like they just do really good Italian food or whatever. They do the most amazing pasta ever, and they do the most amazing pizza ever, and stuff like that. And it's like, I think actually that's like a really, really good point to bring up, because it's like, if I'm going to a restaurant, like I'll often go to like restaurants that do food I enjoy, right? It's like, oh, I really like Thai food, so I'll go to a Thai restaurant. Or I like burgers, so I'll go to a burger restaurant. Or I like Italian food, so I'll go to an Italian restaurant. And it's like, even though these restaurants serve the same dishes, right? So like Italian restaurants generally serve the same dishes, right? With maybe slight variations. They are still unique experiences, right? It's like one restaurant might have a really good tomato sauce, and one restaurant might have fantastic pizza dough, and it's like it's always a unique experience, and it's always interesting, right? And I feel like with video games, people don't really see that. It's like, I've already been to an Italian restaurant before, so why should I do that? Let's go to an Italian Thai fusion restaurant instead. And it's like, okay, so now we're like putting tomato sauce on a pad Thai or whatever, and it tastes like ass. Right? Do you kind of get...
I mean... it's I guess there is a slight difference in that you have to eat a lot of food, right? And food is not...
True. You need to eat to survive.
Yeah, but I guess you could argue you could...
Well, you need to play video games to survive too,
obviously. Yeah, obviously you need it. I would die otherwise, I don't know what... like our original analogy with the fridge, right? I think it presents like a slightly different issue, because it's sort of two things in one, right? Because we are arguing about, we want the games to be good, right? We're talking about the art or whatever you want to call it, right? But a lot of these companies, not necessarily the designers, right? But the company, I feel like the designers get like tainted or whatever you want to say by the other parts of the company, right? But the marketing people or whatever, right? And I do think, unfortunately, that the thing in our brain that decides like value and stuff, right, is more responsive to these kinds of dumb things, right?
Yeah.
And so I think in general, humans are more willing to spend more money on these kinds of novel things, right?
Yeah.
Because I think... we're going to talk about that in a bit, right? But I think it's like tied to like metrics, right? I think there is something in our brains that like really, really loves metrics, and since money is like metric based, right? You have, you know, it's like you can count money, right?
Yeah.
Money is also like evaluated in that part of the brain. So that's why like video games and stuff end up there, right? Because you get what I'm saying, right? Where you judge how much it's worth with the part of the brain that also judges how much, you know, something you need is worth or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Some like more concrete thing, right? And so your judgment becomes bad is basically what I'm saying, because you're because the thing that, again, like that part of the brain, I feel like doesn't like this idea where like you can describe, like you talked about this before, maybe you want to bring it up later again here, right? Where you'll describe two scenarios and they're the same, right? But the content is different, right?
Yeah.
And I think the part of the brain that decides what to buy, it doesn't like that, right? Because it can't make a judgment on that, right? Because it's harder to make. So like, I guess one way to get around this is like, you care about people, right? For example, that's one way. You've talked about it, and I do as well. Where it's like, I don't care what something like, let's say like Bogog releases his new game. Like, I don't care what the game is. I'm gonna buy it because, I mean, I'm probably gonna like it, right? I like his other games, right? Or Jonathan Blow, right? I'm gonna buy his new game, even though it's probably good, right?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like we discussed this like right before the podcast, because we were discussing what we were going to talk about, and we were talking about Red Pulse, the game by Boghog.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, it's a slightly gimmicky game because it's like a run and gun game mashed together with a bullet hell game.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like a unique selling point gimmick kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when I decided to play that game, that sort of distinction had nothing to do with my decision to play the game. The reason I decided to play the game was that you said, oh hey, Ludwig, Boghog has another game that we've missed. It's called Red Pulse. You should play it. And I was like, oh yeah, Boghog, he's a good designer. I'm going to play the game.
Yeah.
And like the actual premise of the game didn't matter to me at all. And I think that I think one other like very interesting sort of way to look at it is with movie directors, right? Because I'm very much in the same way there. It's like, if it's a director who's made a movie that I've enjoyed, that I've watched before, then I'm gonna watch the movie no matter what the movie's about. And there is a problem with doing this, right? And it's the fact that, okay, what if you don't know the director?
Yes.
Do you know if the movie's gonna be good or not? No, you don't. And in that case, you're probably gonna have to like take a chance, or maybe, you know, someone you trust, like whose judgments you trust said, oh, this
critics come in,
really
huh?
Good. Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of one aspect that I wanted to bring up, which is that like, this is why critics are so important. Like, because they are like, not necessarily that, you know, their opinions should matter more than other people's or whatever, but it's like, as tastemakers, as people who like try a bunch of stuff and share what they think is good with other people, that is like really, really important. And I think video games are severely lacking in these kinds of
things. The thing is, you can make the analogy to your like director example, right? Because the reason you watch all the movies from that director, because you know he thinks in a way that you find interesting. Yeah. And you can do the same for critics if they weren't product oriented, right? If they actually were critics, because like we mentioned him already, like the Electric Underground, right? Yeah. He does not do the product thing, right? So even if we don't 100% align with his opinions, right? Always, we sort of get a feel for his tastes, right? By listening to what he says, right? Which is useful, right? Because he's gonna stay true to his taste, which helps us decide what we want, right? Or like what parts we like or don't like, right? Yeah. My point is basically, you can argue that the critic is like, you can follow a critic is what I'm saying, right? You can be like, oh yeah, this critic says this game is good, therefore I'm gonna buy it. I don't know what it is, but he says it's good, so it's probably good because I liked everything else he said was good, right? Or maybe it's like, if this critic says that this kind of game is good, I'm gonna buy it, but if he says this kind of game is good, I'm not gonna buy it, right? Because I don't match the taste in that area, but I match the taste in that area or whatever. And we need this like a lot, because it's very bad right now, where it's like all the reviews are talking about these like dumb things, like how long the game, like it's metric based. It's all these metrics. It's like how long it is, how good the graphics are, how many spells,
secret collectibles.
Yeah, how many spells there are in the game, like how many, I don't even know, like it's all something you can measure, right? They don't talk about anything but things you can measure.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm actually gonna defend video game reviews a little bit, I guess, which is that I think in recent years, it's probably been going on for like 10-15 years now, but like sorry, I think the like what do you want to call it, like YouTube reviewer personality has become a lot stronger than, you know, for example, traditional review like IGN or whatever, you know, review sites. And I think that's sort of like a little bit what we're talking about here, where like people find someone that their thoughts align with them, and then they end up following them on YouTube and whatever. Because like the thing that actually
taste,
because the thing that actually matters, like it. If someone were to say, oh, you can always trust an IGN review or whatever, like, they'd obviously be wrong, right? But the thing is that doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, because it's always different people reviewing the games.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot more sense to have like a YouTuber that you subscribe to that recommends game. You know, someone like, you know, Total Biscuit used to be. He's a great example. Where like, okay, when I watch a Total Biscuit video, I know who he is, I know his tastes, I know he's gonna like talk about the options menu for 30 minutes. I know if the port
is good or not.
yeah, and it's like, I know what I'm getting into when I watch a Total Biscuit video, and like, I can make an actual informed decision about whether or not to buy the game from that.
Yes.
And I think that's very important, because like traditional like review sites like IGN and Kotaku or whatever, that makes no sense whatsoever for me.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think they used to be more like that back in the day, where they'd have like, and maybe they still do, but they have like assigned critics for
true
for genres or whatever. So you could, like, if you're, you know, whatever, like, you would follow the genre. If you want games out of that genre, you would get the reviews from that guy at that place or whatever, right? But I mean, they're a complete, I don't want to say a complete joke, but I do want to say a complete joke. Like, they're not critical reviews. They're like marketing pieces for the games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Where they list the features.
And they list the gimmicks, don't forget, that's the important part.
And then the like, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like the review scores on reviews are almost always on these like bigger sites, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of a metric calculations of like how the value, right? So it's like it's the game length. You know, we talked about like how many spells are there, how many hours are there, how big is the world, right? It's sort of a like combined calculation of how those, like, are they worth the money or not, right? Do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there is something, though, I feel like sometimes, right, where if it's very off, right, if the game is very off, like the voice acting or something, right, like the performance is off, then they'll also notice for some reason.
Yeah, but I think that's still measurable, right? It's like the voice acting is really bad. That's measurable.
Yeah, yes. But I feel like it's more what I look for still, anyways, right?
Yeah.
Because I really don't care how big the world is or how many hours the game is or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they just say the things that like the marketing material says, right? It's like, X game is a game where blah blah, right? And it's like literally the thing they had in the marketing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we're being a bit mean to them here, but it's like...
No, I mean, I think in general, like review sites, like unless you have like a Mass Effect Andromeda situation, that's what I was thinking of, where it's like,
Dragon
okay,
Age, the Veilguard.
Yeah, that's true. That's a more recent example. Although I think most people kind of expected that game to be bad, so it wasn't as like sensational or whatever. But it's like when there are clear like technical issues and like the writing is incoherent and the gameplay is mind-numbingly boring, which it often is. But you know, with Mass Effect Andromeda, it's even worse. It's like then they recognize that the game is trash. When it's all measurable like that, but when it isn't, it's like, if we look at Pragmata, for example, it's like there's nothing measurably bad about the game. Like the voice acting is good, there's like high production value, the animations are good.
I'm sure the story is decent, but I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And like stuff like that. But the actual like gameplay dynamics, or whatever you want to call it, are super shallow. But that's not measurable. So maybe you could argue that it is a little bit measurable, but like the reviewers aren't actually engaging with the game enough to
but
notice
it isn't measurable in the way that this like concrete metric thing, right? It's more measurable in like, because it's hard, because I guess you could argue, well, how hard is it or whatever or something, but it's not about that necessarily. It's very nuanced, right? It's like how engaging is the content, right? How much nuance is there in the content, right? Yeah. And I guess part of the problem is it's a skill thing, right? Like you mentioned before, because you only recognize the nuance if you play more, which is fine, by the way. I don't think AAA games should be like super hard or anything, but they should have the nuance design for like they should like. And what I mean is like they have difficulties and stuff, right? And that's fine. But the nuance should still be there in the easier difficulties. You should just not have to necessarily engage with them if it's like a super casual AAA game. That's what I'm saying, right? You know, like what you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Like they want there to be people that like basically can get through it and just watch the story, right? That's fine if some people want to do that, right? But the for some games at least, right? It depends. I'm not saying no blanket statements here about all games should have whatever. Like I don't necessarily like difficulties anyways, right? But I'm just saying like from it makes sense from a big like AAA studios perspective, right? Because there's a lot of people and they spent a lot of money on it, right? But the point is the nuance should still be there. So like even let's here's my point. Here is my point, right? If you're a really skilled player and you play like an super, like some of the shmups, like ports of the older cave shmups, they have like these super easy modes or whatever, right? Novice modes are they called usually, right? I am sure they are still like I get it. They're not gonna be hard to like a super player or whatever, right? But they still maintain the like core nuances of the genre, so they're still engaging in a way that I feel like a lot of newer games don't have they don't have it at all, right? But on the easier difficulties, it's like you're not even playing, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't really know what my point was there. I guess that it's complicated.
Yeah. I'm trying to like come up with another example of what you said, because I feel like there should be one, but I can't come up with one.
A good or a bad one?
Bad one.
Bad one. I mean, I would argue most like big games that come out are kind of bad because they don't have the nuance in the easy mode, right? So then they don't have the nuance in the harder modes either, right?
Yeah.
And so what they're doing is like making this game with it, like they're thinking about the gimmicks, they're putting all this stuff together, and it's like, yes, okay, click button, yes, I click button, oh now a thing appear, kick, right? And then it's like, okay, how do we make this harder? Well, you make it take longer, right? So you have to do it more times or something, right? Which is not interesting. Like what you do is you do what you do in a puzzle game, right? But you do it like even in an action game, you do what you do in a puzzle game, which is you have a mechanic, right? And then you have another mechanic, and then you overlap the mechanics, right? And what you do to make it harder, right, for the harder difficulties, if you have difficulties, is you just overlap more mechanics in more nuanced ways, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you make it more interesting, right? You don't just make it take longer or whatever. That's not interesting at all, right?
Yeah.
But because
that's one of the.
Good.
No, sorry.
Good.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed with Electric Underground's Pragmata review. It's like the enemy design was super, super weird because it's like a third-person shooter where you have guns, right?
Yeah.
But most of the enemies are melee enemies and they're super, super slow.
No.
But then it's like, okay, but there are some ranged enemies, but the ranged enemies never appear with the melee enemies, so it's like the melee enemies are never a threat whatsoever.
I'm gonna make one of those dumb assumptions here. I think they ran into issues at playtesting.
Yeah, probably.
I think it was like they probably had it better tuned, but then some people got frustrated at the fact that you need to concentrate on two things at once, right? And people generally don't like that. Yeah. Especially don't play testers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the play, like, not probably shouldn't say play testers, but more focus testing, whatever, right?
Yeah, focus testing from like people who don't actually play games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's like, I can't look at this and do this at once, right? And it's like, okay, and then they tone it down, right?
Yeah.
And so then there's nothing left. But my point is like, if there's like a laser you have to dodge, right? Let's say that's on easy, right?
Yeah.
That is fine if that is all you have to do on easy, right? It's very uninteresting, but it's fine, right? But then maybe on the like hardest difficulty, there's like laser and there's something like missiles coming at you and there's other enemies, right? Yeah. There's all these different things, and that's sort of I feel like is the issue, right? That the idea space is not explored at all, right? It's just. They figure out what the mechanics should be and then they don't do anything with it, right? Because their goal is to figure out something unique, not to explore the space. That we began this discussion with, right? Yeah.
I think this actually brings us very perfectly into something we have discussed before, which is game jams. Game jams are a perfect example of this phenomenon, I think, because when you look at game jam games, they are always super obsessed with coming up with a witty mechanic, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. In game design, in game jam participators, like defense, a lot of them I feel like do it just to like practice and stuff, and which is
that's
right.
True.
But yes, the like idea of having a novel idea at the core of
like the culture around game jams is about basically it's a competition about who comes up with the wittiest mechanic.
Yes, which is super dumb.
And we've discussed this before. Like obviously it's a game jam, so you're doing it in a very short time. So you obviously don't have the same amount of time to explore the space. But I feel like this game jam culture thing sort of seeps into the rest of game design a lot, where it's like, okay, you come up with a cool idea and then you make it, but then like you don't explore it beyond that. You never go deep into it. You just implement the cool idea and then that's it. That's the game.
But doesn't this
No, go ahead.
Like, doesn't this a bit tie into like the way a lot of the other things? Like, I feel like this is sort of the maybe a good way to think about it is like the inventor mentality, right? Mm-hmm. That is very prevalent in like our part of the world, right? Where everything is about like coming up with the new thing, right? Mm-hmm. And like building the new thing and then selling the new thing. Yeah. And I feel like art is not like that, right? At all. You can't invent art at all. It's a completely different like process.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean even in a lot of cases inventions are that way. Like I remember reading about
that's probably
I think it was like I think it was like the vacuum cleaner, the like Dyson guy behind the Dyson vacuum cleaners. He talked about like how he invented some kind of technology that made vacuum cleaners way better because they used to be really bad.
Yeah.
And then like he like came up with a like solution to a problem that made vacuum cleaners actually good, and it made them really popular, and that's why like Dyson vacuum cleaners are really popular today. And the thing about it is that he talked about it. It was like he wasn't the first person who came up with that idea. There were like 50 patents for the exact same thing. It was just that like nobody had actually succeeded in making it work well before.
Yeah.
Like they had like the concept, and then like they tried it a bit, and then this concept doesn't work, let's give it up.
Yeah.
But like that guy, he was like, no, I'm gonna make this work, and then he like worked on it a lot, and then he actually came up with the solution. I don't remember what the actual problem was, but like I think this sort of mentality is needed in games a lot, where it's like you know, look at the mechanic and say, oh yeah, this is a really interesting mechanic, but it doesn't work. How can I make it work? How can I change it so that it actually works, right? And like that way we get a lot of interesting games, instead of, because I think a lot of designers don't want to do that because they feel like it's unoriginal. It's like, oh, I'm stealing from another game. But it's like, no, you're actually iterating on it.
So like for me there's like two approaches, or like there's probably more, but like two I can think of right now. In ways you can make good games, right? One is like you really like racing games, right? And you just play all of them and figure out how to make a good one, right? That's one approach. I would say that's the design-wise easier approach, right?
Yeah.
The hard approach is the Jonathan Blow thing we talked about before, where you'll have an idea that's not necessarily tied to any game, right? It's like you play something, like we said, you play Arx Fatalis, and you're like, this magic system is kind of interesting, but it doesn't do it in some, you get like that, some process like that. If it only worked like this or something, and then you don't go like, oh, I'm gonna build Arx Fatalis and but do the magic system good. You focus in on only that thing and like build the game around that. But that's really hard, right? You need to be a really skilled, really skilled designer to do that, right?
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's part of the problem as well, right? It's a skill issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, compared to
but I feel like this. I feel like this together. Like exactly. I feel like this iterative, like games iterating on each other, creates more interesting games than games trying to be a new thing all the time, right? That's sort of the main point I want to make. It's like
but that's the first one, right? That's the I like car games. I'm gonna make a car game, and then you iterate on car games, right?
Yeah, but it feels like a lot of designers are too proud, I guess, to like just make a good car game, and so they make a car game, but put a twist on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the bad ones do that, right?
Yeah.
Is that problem?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The good ones do just do whatever, right? And the funny thing is they end up more unique than the gimmicky games, right? Because their interpretation of the thing they cloned is not, the actual thing. So even if they try to clone it, it's going to be way different, right? Because there's so much nuance in something like a game.
Yeah. Yeah, this actually brings me to a rant I wanted to make. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to make the rant.
Sure.
And I might have done this rant, or at least talked about it a little bit on the podcast before. I don't remember. But I was looking through like Steam Next Fest demos a few months ago. I don't remember if it was the most recent Next Fest or not, but it might have been older. But I was in the mood for like a tactical RPG, Fire Emblem style, something like that. So I went into the Next Fest thing, and I I searched for the tags that you do when you want to find that kind of game.
Yep.
And it was such a comical experience, because like every game was like, okay, first of all, like there were 50 roguelike deck builders.
Yeah.
And like all of them had a unique twist. It was like, oh yeah, it's a roguelike deck builder, but you're playing football at the same time or something. I don't remember what the actual gimmicks were. They're like, because they end up becoming so generic because, oh, it's a roguelike deck builder with a gimmick. Okay, I get it. But then I also found some like some actual tactical RPGs. But I got so frustrated because I started looking at the pages, and every game just had to be unique, right? It was like I was in the mood for like the most generic tactical RPG ever, and I just couldn't find one because everything was like, oh yeah, it's a tactical RPG but with a gimmick. And then I ended up finding a game that like I just looked at the pictures. I didn't read much about the game. I just looked at the pictures, and I was like, okay, this looks kind of like a tactical RPG. I'm gonna download this and play this. And then I like went on and looked for more games because I downloaded like 15 games at once and then played them all in a row. And then I launched that game. And it was a hybrid rhythm tactical RPG.
Yes, that's the thing.
So you had to input the moves to the beat. And I was like, holy crap, no. And I like Alt F4 and I uninstalled all the games. And I was like, I'm not gonna do this. Like, because the point of this story is that if someone had just made a super generic tactical RPG, they would have stood out like hell. They would have been the most unique game in that list of 15 games that I downloaded. And it's... I think it's just funny because what's ended up happening is that everyone is trying so much to be unique that it's actually unique to not be unique. That's my rant over.
Yeah, that is true. I agree.
And so it's like, I think if you want to make a generic game, I think now is the time to do it because like the market is undersaturated with generic games. Yeah.
The problem is, I guess, you need to be good at game design as well, or like yeah.
Well, the thing is, that's not necessarily true, right? Because I think being a bad designer, you get away with being a bad designer more for a generic game than a gimmicky game. Because a gimmicky game, it's very obvious that you have no clue what you're doing.
But I
whereas
guess
with
the
a
point,
generic game,
I think what I'm thinking of is like if you know you're bad at design, you should copy more, right? That's the thing.
Exactly.
You should be like, well, this thing doesn't make sense, but I guess I'll do this anyways because this other designer did it and it seems to work there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not to that extent. That sounds bad when I say it, but I think you get what I'm saying, where it's like, I see a lot of like, this mechanic, I don't need that mechanic. That just makes people frustrated or something, right? And then they remove that, and then no one plays their game because like that was actually fundamental to the experience.
Yeah.
And that's what a bad designer is gonna do when they copy, is my point. Yeah. But I guess to your point, what they're trying to do is they're trying to be unique again.
Yeah.
Which is the core issue. Like, don't try to be unique. Like, it doesn't. It's not. There's no value in that, right? At all. You don't get anything out of it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. I think it's like.
Just make like, good stuff.
if you look at like a good established, like let's take CS as an example, because I always take CS as an example because I play a lot of CS. It's like if I were to make a competitive multiplayer shooter, I would not take CS and like put a twist on it or whatever. I would take CS and I would see, okay, what can I explore? If I even wanna make a game that's similar to CS, right? But like, what can I explore? Like, is there some like part of CS that's interesting but not explored enough or whatever? Like, that's how you end up with interesting games. Yeah, you don't end up with interesting games. Like, actually, I played, what the fuck was that game called? Spectre Divide. That's the name. It's shut down now. It was like as all competitive multiplayer games are nowadays. Yep. It was like open for like 3 months and then they shut the servers down because no one played it. But that was like a competitive multiplayer shooter where you control like two characters that you could swap between. So you could like go to the A site and place your guy there, and then you could swap to the other guy and go to the B site and place him there, and then you could swap back and forth and like defend both sides at the same time. And like that game was so incredibly boring and bad. If they literally would have just like removed that gimmick and then worked a bit more on the game would have been way better, and people probably would have played it way more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess a thing to think about is like when you like even in your case where you're like exploring a different direction in CS, you there is something lost as well, right? You lose something by going in a different direction, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine, right? Because if you know what you're doing, you'll end up somewhere that's just as interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why we have different games. That's why we all don't play the same game.
Yeah.
It's like different games do different things well.
Kind of most people play the same games, unfortunately, but
that is true. That is true. But like, yeah, because yeah, I think the main takeaway from this video is that I wish games were more generic.
Yeah.
Make more generic games, please, because modern video games are like smart fridges.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I had one more point that I wanted to bring up, which is we had no better term than calling it pleasure oriented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is something I see a lot in general, but not necessarily. What am I saying? In general, but also in games is what I'm saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is this. We sort of touched on it, right? But just to clarify it, which is that the assumed goal of everything you do is pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that does not make a lot of sense at all, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of don't want that much. That sounds weird. Pleasure in my life, right? If that makes sense. Like, I don't know, pleasure is maybe the wrong word. You get what I'm saying, right? Like, it's activities that are giving you kicks, basically.
Yeah, I think the term would be dopamine maxing.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily dopamine, right?
No, but like...
the point, like... And it's interesting to me because, like, if we talk about... I think you mentioned it already, but, like, if we talk about something like TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
People kind of actually recognize that is bad, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I know, but I'll just watch 10 minutes or something, right? Or like 30 minutes, right? But they don't... And again, like we said with food, they realize it for food, where it's like a junk food is actually, you get fat. I guess it's because you can visually see it.
Yeah.
But in the game space, and like, again, social media and like all of these things, right? People gambling, there is this understanding, even though people are doing all of these things too much. I mean, not all, you get what I'm saying. There's people that do these things too much.
Mm-hmm.
People still recognize that it's bad to do these things too much, right?
Yeah.
And I think the problem with video games is that there is so many different kinds of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very gray area stuff, right? Because it's not the same as that, right? It's not that all games are just like TikTok or whatever. It's just you're just addicted and your time is going, right? But the problem is that a lot of them have a lot of these mechanics, and so for someone like me and you, I assume as well, which we want, like we want the nutrients, right? We want the interesting stuff, because like we are actually interested in games, like we're actually interested in the activity of playing video games and like exploring video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of games are built in a way where they are just focusing on, I guess, dopamine, right? But like addicting stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that is somehow also recognized as not a problem. I don't understand why that is, actually.
Yeah.
It's very strange to me, right? Because I can't come up with one now. Like, but I'm sure there are games where I'm like, yeah, this game is kind of fun, but like this part is not fun. I mean, you could argue like you play Counter-Strike, right? The game is kind of fun, but the like gambling skins and it's absolute garbage, right?
Yeah,
it should just not be there, right? But somehow people have a hard time with that with video games, and I don't quite understand why. And it ties into this, right? Because people talk a lot about, oh yes, I'm gonna buy this game and I'm gonna get like 100 hours out of it and it's gonna be great. And it's like, what? Like I mean, I like to use the term I don't understand, but this is like, I genuinely don't understand why you would want something to take a long amount of time, right? Because you know, life is short or something, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I get it. You paid something, so you want your money's worth, but it's like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think it ties into what we discuss very often, which is this like TV show phenomenon, right? Where it's like the point isn't actually to be interesting or thought-provoking or whatever. The point is literally for it to be something that you can do to spend your time. Same as TV shows, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like that's sort of the point. Like for a lot of people, that's the point of video games. And if we're looking at it from that lens, then video games are doing a really, really good job, right? Video games are really good if you look at them like that. But obviously we don't. We don't want them to waste our time. We want them to be worth our time. We even have a video about that topic. You should check it out.
Yeah, and I guess the problem also is that there's like a spectrum because you have like combined stuff. So like, I just need to add this because it's so like maybe I'm getting old, but like I am getting less and less patient about these things, right? I remember there was some like shoot 'em up game jam or something. And I mean, a lot of them were doing like, no, not shoot 'em up, it was bullet hell game jam. I was playing through the games, and there were some good games, obviously, right? But one of them was like, you were like jumping around or something. I'm like, okay, sure. And then 3 seconds later, you get 3 cards on the screen. And I just alt F4 immediately. I'm like, I am not. And it's weird because the point I want to make with that is like, I'm actually getting less tolerant about these things. Like, I don't want anything in the game that keeps me there, right? I want them all motivation to be purely intrinsic, like every single piece of it, right? But I feel like even among people that like games, like actually like games, they're somehow also I don't know if convincing themselves. Maybe they think differently than I, obviously, but like they feel like a lot of people argue that no, I want these like skill trees and stuff because they're keeping me going or something, right? But it's like, do you get what I'm saying? Right, where it's But like, why do you want some extrinsic thing forcing you to keep going, right?
I feel like sort of the more time that passes, the more I try to play games that I don't want to play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yes.
Because if I follow my instincts and like what I feel like playing, I'm probably gonna end up playing, a game that is not very meaningful. Like has a bunch of these addiction mechanics and so on. But I like actively try to be like, okay, this game doesn't have any of the dopamine stuff, and while I'm not like super stoked to play it, it's like, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? It's like,
you're not selling games well here.
No, I'm not. But it's like before you go to the gym, you're like, oh no, I have to go to the gym. Fuck no, I don't want to go to the gym. No. But then after the gym, like I've never regretted going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't think anyone has ever regretted.
Well, if
going
you
to the
hurt
gym
yourself, maybe.
Yeah, true. But like if you didn't hurt yourself,
and like sometimes,
like,
I mean, a lot of the times it's also nice when you're there, right? That's also the thing. Like the thing you didn't like, the thing that was the issue was going there.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing else.
Yeah. And yeah, like when I'm there, I'm like, yeah, no, that's funny actually, because like a lot of times when I go to the gym, it's like the morning that I wake up and I'm like, oh fuck no, I need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna take it really easy today because I'm really tired. And then I go to the gym and I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And I feel like that with video games a lot as well.
Yeah, but I think that is sort of the point I was trying to make with the pleasure thing. I think this is like sort of the way I look at life as well, right? Where to have like to feel good about things, you have to do things that you want to do, not things you want to do, right? There's two different wants, where it's like the things you actually want out of your life. So like if for some reason, like you were playing Devil Daggers today, right? Or the other day, and it's like you could argue that Devil Daggers is the same, like it's completely pointless, right? But no, so for some reason you have the want, right? Actual want, real want to beat Devil Daggers, right? And going towards that goal is actually sort of healthy for your brain or something. I don't know. Like it's actually
no, I agree.
Whereas like if you said, like you said before, if you didn't listen to like to that, I mean, you're listening. What am I trying to say? Like if you just ignored the fact that you wanted and you said, oh no, you're not in the mood to play Devil Daggers now or something, right? Then you wouldn't even get, like, maybe it was bad that time, right? But maybe it was really fun for some reason, right? Or maybe you actually beat it and you feel really good, right? And like it again ties back to like all the we've talked about this before. Like if you feel a lot of emotions, it's more interesting, right? Where if it's very not. But again, I feel like a lot of games that are coming out these days, they're not doing this. I mean, maybe they're doing it a bit, but they're focusing on the thing that you can easily get yourself to do.
Yeah.
And that sort of also ties into the product thing, right? Which is interesting. So I think this might be a money issue actually, because a part of it, right? Because I feel like maybe this is very negative, right? But I feel like a lot of people spend their money in ways to like relieve the pain from like having to work all the time, right? And so they associate games with that as well, right? Like they'll buy, I don't know, like junk food or whatever, right? Or candy and like alcohol or whatever, right? And I think people reason about games the same way, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I mean, you hear that all the time when people talk about like video games as escapism.
Yeah.
Which like.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I understand it, but like it
no,
doesn't.
I'm not a fan of escapism.
That's not why
actually.
That's not why I play games.
Yeah.
I play games because I think like good ones at least make my life more interesting.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm not playing video games to escape life. I'm playing video games to experience life.
Yeah,
like,
or enhance
that sort of
life, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like that's like a philosophical difference.
Yeah, because it's so interesting. Because if I played into like my the lazy part of my mind, right? I would probably play something like very addicting game, right? For like 8 hours a day, and then I would probably not go to the gym, like you said, and not eat healthy, right? It would like it spirals, right? And then I would not achieve other goals that I want to achieve, right? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, it isn't weird, I guess. It makes
no. I mean, what I mean is it's weird that the brain is built in a way where it is averse to things that makes it happy. And it's also interesting that people don't recognize that. Most people, I should say, there are definitely people that most people don't recognize it in the gaming scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the most interesting part, because for other things they do, people realize that going to the gym is good. People realize that fast food is bad for you, and so on and so on. But people don't realize that grinding World of Warcraft for 8 hours a day is bad. A lot of people probably do, but like, I feel like
there are people
it's
that
suspiciously.
I feel like there are a lot of people that do recognize it, but their solution is not to explore the space. It's the people that don't play games at all, right?
Yeah,
it's the people that are doing like other things with their time, right? Because they're like, oh, actually, this is bad. I shouldn't do this, right? Yeah. Whereas, I mean, that totally valid, right? I'm not gonna argue with that if they're doing, other stuff. But the point is that there is actually a space within games that are not that, right? Is my point. In my opinion, at least. Maybe someone will argue, no, it's a waste of time because everything you do should be about maximizing something. Like, there are people that think that way, right? Where it's like everything you do should be about making money or something, right? And I don't think that way. So
yeah, no, me neither. Yeah, I guess we have covered everything we wanted to cover, and even a little bit more, perhaps.
Maybe.
As usual, maybe a bit pretentious towards the end, but that's our specialty. We love being pretentious and like philosophical and abstract and weird and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess we should shout out our new Discord channel that we made. There will be a link in the description. Already some very interesting game design discussions going on there.
Yes.
So if you want to participate, or if you want to say that we're stupid or that we're completely right or whatever, then please hop in and talk to us there.
Yeah, or leave a comment if you don't like Discord.
Yeah,
totally.
Or leave a comment if you just want to say one thing and then never talk to us again.
I mean, or if you don't like Discord, I guess.
That is also true. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that, and comment as we've said. And then have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Are we going somewhere?
Yeah. No, we're not.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're actually going to see the viewer in real life. That's why I'm saying see you next week.
Oh. All of
just kidding. Yes.
Yeah.
No. We're gonna see you on YouTube. But yeah,
well, it depends actually.
Okay, not goodbye.
It depends on when they see the video, right? But because maybe they're watching like the day before the next video, so then it's gonna be tomorrow.
True.
So you don't know. Yeah. You can't say that.
That is true.
Yeah. So it's only if they watch, and it's, Yeah.
And maybe actually, the viewer watches this video, then walks into a time machine and goes back 1 week in time, and so they have to wait 2 weeks for the next video.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think we should end it there.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.